She pulled out her phone in the middle of a court hearing, not to check the time, not to silence a notification, to call her husband, a sitting state senator, and ask him to make this all go away. What happened next would end her marriage, launch her transformation, and prove that some phone calls change everything. 9 days earlier, a Wednesday night, 9:47 p.m., security cameras at a Providence shopping center captured what Diana Crawford, 45, wife of Rhode Island State Senator Michael Crawford, would later call a minor incident. The footage tells a different story. Her white Mercedes SUV drifts through the parking lot, crosses into the wrong lane, and strikes a parked Honda Accord with enough force to trigger its alarm and deploy its rear collision sensors. The impact crushes the rear quarter panel, crumples the bumper, and caves in the trunk. Diana exits her vehicle. She walks unsteadily to the Honda. She inspects the damage for 30 seconds, long enough to read the damage, long enough to leave a note, long enough to call police. Instead, she returns to her Mercedes and drives away. The Honda belongs to Robert Martinez. He's 67 years old, a Vietnam veteran. He's inside the adjacent pharmacy, picking up medication for his wife, who has multiple sclerosis and uses a wheelchair. Their accessible van is in the shop. The Honda is their only transportation to her medical appointments. A witness captures Diana's license plate. Police track her to her home 40 minutes later. At 10:32 p.m., her blood alcohol content measures 14, nearly twice the legal limit. Given the timeline, investigators estimate her BAC at the time of impact was likely 16 or higher. When officers arrive to arrest her, Diana's first words are, "Do you know who my husband is?" 9 days later, Diana Crawford enters Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, wearing designer clothes and an expression that suggests she's attending an inconvenient formality rather than facing criminal charges. Her attorney, Thomas Whitmore, walks beside her, briefcase in hand, confidence radiating from every step. He represents one of Providence's most politically connected law firms. He's handled cases like this before, made them disappear. Judge Caprio watches Diana's entrance, the way he watches every defendant. Carefully, without prejudice, but also without illusion. She doesn't walk like someone facing serious charges. She walks like someone expecting gratitude for showing up. The bailiff calls the case. Judge Caprio reads the charges into the record: driving under the influence causing property damage, leaving the scene of an accident, failure to render aid. Whitmore immediately requests a sidebar. Your Honor, given Mrs. Crawford's position in the community, there are sensitive matters we'd prefer to discuss privately. Judge Caprio's response is immediate. Mr. Whitmore, this is a public courtroom. All proceedings stay on the record. If your client's conduct can't survive public scrutiny, that's a problem with the conduct, not with the scrutiny. Whitmore pivots. He acknowledges his client made an error in judgment. He emphasizes her clean record, her family's civic involvement, her husband's legislative accomplishments. Judge Caprio cuts him off. Mr. Whitmore, your client's husband's legislative record is not evidence in this case. We're here to address what she did, not who she's married to. Judge Caprio turns to Diana directly. Mrs. Crawford, do you understand the charges against you? Diana nods, but her expression suggests this is all a formality. Yes, Your Honor, but I think there's been some exaggeration about what actually happened. Exaggeration! Judge Caprio picks up the police report. Mrs. Crawford, you struck a parked vehicle while driving with a blood alcohol content of 14. You left the scene without providing information. These are facts, not exaggerations. Diana shifts uncomfortably. The damage wasn't that serious. And I thought the parking lot was private property, so I didn't realize I needed to report it. Judge Caprio's expression hardens. Hit-and-run laws apply to all property, public or private, and whether damage is serious isn't determined by the person who caused it. He instructs the clerk to play the security footage. The courtroom watches Diana's Mercedes strike the Honda. The alarm activates. Diana exits, inspects the damage for 30 seconds, then drives away. Mrs. Crawford, do you recognize what's shown in this video? Yes, but I was in shock. I wasn't thinking clearly. The footage shows you standing there for 30 seconds examining the damage. That's long enough to leave a note, long enough to call police, long enough to do the right thing. Diana has no response. Judge Caprio reads from Robert Martinez's victim impact statement. Martinez describes returning to find his car destroyed. No note, no information, no accountability. He explains that his insurance deductible is $1,000, money he and his wife struggle to manage on their fixed income while dealing with her progressive disability. Mrs. Crawford, have you attempted to contact Mr. Martinez? To apologize? To offer to cover the damages? Her attorney answers quickly. Legal counsel advised against direct contact, Your Honor. Legal strategy doesn't excuse moral obligation, Mr. Whitmore. Your client fled the scene. In 9 days, she hasn't taken any responsibility for the harm she caused. Diana speaks up, an edge entering her voice. Your Honor, I understand I made a mistake. My family is prepared to pay for the damages. We just want to resolve this matter quietly and move forward. Quietly, Judge Caprio repeats the word slowly. Mrs. Crawford, you want to resolve this quietly because your husband is a state senator. But the Martinez family can't resolve their financial hardship quietly. They have to live with the consequences of your choices, publicly, every day. Officer Jennifer Santos takes the stand. She responded to the scene and later arrested Diana at her residence. What was Mrs. Crawford's demeanor during the arrest? Dismissive, Your Honor. She repeatedly asked if we knew who her husband was. She said this was a waste of police resources and that we should be focusing on real crimes. Judge Caprio asks to hear the body camera audio. Diana's voice fills the courtroom, slurred and indignant. Do you know who my husband is? He's a state senator. You're making a huge mistake. This will be taken care of. The silence that follows is devastating. Mrs. Crawford, that audio was recorded at 10:32 p.m., 45 minutes after you struck Mr. Martinez's vehicle and drove away. Instead of taking responsibility, you threatened police officers with your husband's position. Diana tries to explain. I was stressed. I said things I didn't mean. You said exactly what you meant, Mrs. Crawford. You expected your husband's position to make your criminal behavior disappear. And then, Diana makes her catastrophic mistake. She reaches into her purse, pulls out her cell phone, starts dialing, right there, in open court. In front of the judge. Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the courtroom like a blade. Mrs. Crawford, what are you doing? I'm calling my husband. He can explain this better than I can. The courtroom collectively holds its breath. Mrs. Crawford, put that phone away immediately. Diana continues holding the phone to her ear. He's the one who deals with legal matters. He'll know what to say. Judge Caprio's voice becomes ice. Mrs. Crawford, you are standing in my courtroom facing criminal charges, and you just attempted to call your husband for help in the middle of proceedings. That is contempt of court. Diana finally lowers the phone. But the damage is done. She has just demonstrated, in front of everyone, that she believes her husband's position can fix anything, even an active court hearing. Judge Caprio makes a decision that will become legendary in Rhode Island legal history. Bailiff, retrieve Mrs. Crawford's phone. He pauses. Mrs. Crawford, you called your husband. I'm going to give you exactly what you wanted. We're going to talk to Senator Crawford right now. Diana's face goes pale. This isn't what she expected. Within minutes, the clerk has Senator Michael Crawford on the line. Judge Caprio puts the call on speakerphone. Senator Crawford, this is Judge Frank Caprio in Providence Municipal Court. Your wife is here for a hearing regarding DUI charges. and she just attempted to call you in the middle of proceedings for assistance. I'm putting you on speaker so we can address this matter publicly." A pause. Then, Senator Crawford's voice fills the courtroom, steady but heavy. "Your Honor, I apologize for my wife's behavior. She had no right to call me during court proceedings." Diana tries to interrupt. Judge Caprio raises his hand. Senator Crawford continues. "Your Honor, I need to say something for the record. I've been aware of the charges against my wife since the night of her arrest. I've advised her to take full responsibility, to apologize to Mr. Martinez, and to accept whatever consequences the court deems appropriate." Diana's eyes widen. This isn't the rescue she expected. "Senator Crawford," Judge Caprio asks, "are you asking this court to show leniency to your wife because of your position?" The senator's answer makes Diana physically stagger. "No, Your Honor. I'm asking you to treat her exactly as you would treat any other defendant. Her actions were wrong. The fact that she's married to a state senator doesn't excuse drunk driving, property damage, or leaving an elderly veteran to deal with the consequences alone." Diana whispers urgently. "Michael, what are you doing?" Senator Crawford hears her. "Diana, I told you to take responsibility. You chose not to listen. I've spent my career working on criminal justice reform, on accountability, on equal application of law. I cannot advocate for those principles publicly and then ask for exemptions privately." Judge Caprio asks if the senator has anything else to say. "Yes, Your Honor. Robert Martinez is a Vietnam War veteran. My father served in Vietnam. The fact that my wife hit Mr. Martinez's car and drove away, leaving him to deal with the damage alone, is something I find deeply shameful. Mr. Martinez served this country. He deserves respect, not hit-and-run treatment from someone who then threatens police with her husband's political position." The courtroom is silent. "Your Honor, whatever sentence you determine is appropriate, you have my full support. My wife needs to learn that her last name doesn't grant immunity from consequences. If this were any other defendant, I'd expect full accountability. I expect the same for her." The call ends. Diana stands alone at the defendant's table, completely exposed. Her expected rescue transformed into public accountability. Judge Caprio's voice is calm but firm. "Mrs. Crawford, your husband, the man you tried to call for help in the middle of court proceedings, just told me to treat you like any other defendant. Let's do exactly that." He reviews the evidence systematically. Security footage proves the collision. Body camera audio proves she threatened officers. Her 14 BAC proves significant intoxication. Her phone call proves she still believes political connections can erase accountability. The sentence is comprehensive. For DUI, $1,000 fine, mandatory alcohol education, 1-year license suspension. For leaving the scene, $500 fine, 80 hours community service at a veterans support organization. For failure to render aid, $250 fine. For contempt of court, $500 fine. Total penalties, $2,250. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. He orders full restitution to Robert Martinez, $4,300 for vehicle repairs, plus his $1,000 deductible. Total, $5,300. Diana must write formal apology letters to both Mr. Martinez and Officer Santos, reviewed by the court before delivery, and the community service, 80 hours, specifically assisting elderly veterans with transportation, driving them to medical appointments, helping them navigate VA services, the exact kind of assistance Robert Martinez needed when his car was destroyed. Total financial impact, $7,550 plus attorney fees. Total time commitment, 80 hours of service plus mandatory alcohol education. Total consequence, 1 year without a license and a permanent record of contempt. Diana's attorney objects, calling the sentence excessive. Judge Caprio silences him. "Mr. Whitmore, your client drove drunk, caused significant property damage, fled the scene, threatened police officers, and then tried to call her husband in the middle of court proceedings. Every consequence she's facing is proportional to her choices. As Diana is processed out, she passes Robert Martinez, who has been sitting quietly in the gallery throughout the hearing. She doesn't acknowledge him, doesn't apologize, just walks past like he's invisible. Mr. Martinez stands. "Your Honor, may I say something?" "Of course, Mr. Martinez." "I just want to thank you. I'm 67 years old. I served in Vietnam. I've never asked for special treatment, but I also didn't expect to be treated like I didn't matter. Mrs. Crawford hit my car and drove away like I was nobody. You just showed me that in your courtroom, I'm somebody. Thank you." Judge Caprio nods, visibly moved. "Mr. Martinez, you've always been somebody. This court just made sure Mrs. Crawford learned that." Within hours, news of the hearing spreads across Rhode Island. The audio of Diana calling her husband in court becomes the talk of local news. Senator Crawford's statement supporting full accountability trends on social media. 2 days later, Senator Crawford holds a press conference. He announces that he and Diana are separating. "My wife's behavior was unacceptable. Her refusal to take responsibility is unacceptable. I've spent my career fighting for accountability in our justice system. I cannot maintain that integrity while staying married to someone who believes political connections should erase criminal behavior." The separation becomes a divorce within 6 months. Senator Crawford's approval ratings actually increase. Voters respect his integrity, his willingness to choose principles over personal comfort. Diana begins her community service 3 weeks later, driving elderly veterans to medical appointments. Week 1, silent, resentful. Week 5, starting to listen to their stories. Week 12, genuinely engaged, asking about their service, understanding their sacrifices. One veteran, Thomas Kim, tells her about serving in Vietnam with a man named Martinez. She asks if it's Robert Martinez. It is. They served together. Diana breaks down. For the first time since the incident, she understands what she did. She didn't just hit a car. She disrespected a man who served his country, who sacrificed for people like her, who deserved better. She completes her 80 hours. She writes genuine apology letters that the court accepts. She finishes her alcohol education program. 6 months after sentencing, she requests a meeting with Robert Martinez. They meet at a coffee shop. Diana apologizes face to face. "Mr. Martinez, I hit your car and drove away like you didn't matter. I threatened police with my husband's position. I tried to call him in court to fix it. I was wrong about all of it. I'm sorry." Robert listens. Then he says something that changes Diana's perspective forever. "Mrs. Crawford, I forgive you. But understand something. I didn't serve this country so people like you could have special privileges. I served so everyone could be equal under the law. Judge Caprio reminded you of that. Don't forget it again." Diana has completed all requirements. Her license is reinstated. Her divorce is final. Her life looks completely different. She continues volunteering at the Veterans Organization, even though her hours are complete. She's learned something her political connections never taught her. Respect isn't inherited through marriage. It's earned through conduct. Diana Crawford walked into court thinking her husband's position would save her. She pulled out her phone in the middle of the hearing, expecting rescue. Instead, she heard him tell the judge, "Treat her like anyone else." That phone call, the one she thought would fix everything, became the moment that changed her life forever. Some calls you can't make. Some positions don't grant immunity. And some husbands choose integrity over protection. That's justice. That's accountability. That's the legacy of Judge Frank Caprio. Dramatization for storytelling and education, not legal advice or reporting.